Final race out of Kalgoorlie, race number 7 is the Goldfields Variety Handicap over 1760 metres. The Variety Bash is held today. There is about 350 patrons on course for that event, I'm told. It's been a wonderful event here at the Kalgoorlie Race Club, and favouritism is with the feuding and a well-supported favourite as well. Are you with Pike in the last, Riley?
I'm not, Michael. I'm actually going against Pike in the last, contrary to most punters, judging by the way this market has trended. I do think he's short enough at the 235. He's certainly one of the key winning hopes in this race. He was a pretty dominant winner 2 starts ago here over the mile. Not sure that race was as strong as the race that he finds himself in here to round out today's program. I thought he had every chance to run down Santa Bray last start and was unable to. I do think he gets a better setup here today with Pike jumping on board than Santa Bray does, but I'm actually going elsewhere with Decoration, race horse number 4 here in the last. Has been racing in much stronger races in town than what he faces here to round out today's program. He was a track and distance winner over the round last year. It was a tough win as well. He's been building his fitness with each run this campaign. I thought he's run 2 starts ago, particularly, Michael. That was in a graduation over 1,300 metres at Pinjarra. While it says 10th of 16 on the form guide, was actually very good for a horse that was never going to be suited over that distance range. I thought this looked a really good opportunity for Natasha Faithfull to roll forward, find a position over the speed, and Decoration's the one for me in the last.
Well, yeah, that graduation race that he won, far stronger than this. It was a $60,000 race, wasn't it? That was on Kalgoorlie Cup Day. He's now at the same track distance in a country 64 plus, so he is quite well placed. I think these 2 horses are the ones that the Pearce Yard have come for today, Manavendra and Decoration. And Manavendra himself, the stablemate, that was a pretty cheeky run last start. He should have finished a lot closer.
It was a good run. Once upon a time, an Esperance Cup winner, as we know. He's a more than capable type. Manavendra was a very good performance. He's just a horse that does leave himself with a fair bit of work to do with his racing pattern. He's drawn barrier 12 here today. After the claim of Zephyr Johnson Porter gets him with a winnable weight of 59 kilos, but he is likely to get a long way back in running from that gate. And given the way we've seen things transpire here today with the track pattern, Michael, I do think that he is going to be up against it.
Horse that's gone out on course early, Tony's Spirit, hasn't really handled the wet tracks recently, but the peak form, a multiple York Cup winner, better grade than this. Could that horse run a cheeky at around 25 to 1?
Yeah, I think she can. I think back onto a firmer surface, as you mentioned here today, Michael. Certainly going to be in Tony's Spirit's favour this afternoon, but I'm just not sure where she's at in her racing career. While you could make an excuse that the wet tracks have certainly not been to her advantage in her recent runs, she has been very disappointing.
And speaking about racing careers, Heavy Metal won earlier at $1.30, and Peter Fernie said post-race that it might be her last start of her career, that she might be off to the breeding barn. So she's done her job. She is black type, obviously, having placed in the Supremacy Stakes as a 2-year-old on debut. But the horses are entering the yard now, so we'll preview this race. This is the final event from Kalgoorlie, the Goldfields Variety Handicap, and here is our favourite, number 1, well supported as well, Peter Fernie, and that man, William Pike.
I think he's a deserving favourite here, Michael, but he is very short at the price at $2.35. He's been very heavily targeted in betting in this final race on the program. He was a pretty dominant winner in a 58 plus over the mile here 2 starts ago. I don't think that was a strong race. It was a race where Kalita ran second. I'm not sure she's at her best over the 1,600 metres, and I thought he had every chance to run down Santa Bray, who he meets again here today last start, and was unable to do so over the concluding stages at this distance range. I do love the fact that William Pike jumps on board, has drawn barrier 5, but not a horse with a great deal of early speed, so I do anticipate he will end up in the second half of the field. And as we have seen today, Michael, it has been difficult for those horses without everything going their way to be able to make up the required ground to grab the horses that are settling in the first half with this pattern of the day. So I do think he's short enough at the price.
2, Manavendra, a good run this track distance last start. Dan Ben Pearce, Zephyr Johnson Porter.
Was a really good run, hit the line super after getting a long way back in running over this distance range, but do think he is going to have the task up against it here today with the task that he's going to set himself from the barrier that he's drawn in 12. He's going to get a long way back in running.
The 3 Santa Bray beat a similar field last start. Ross Craig, Chris Nicol.
Thought he was given a peach last start. He was put into the race very early by Alex Hearn, and that's exactly how you need to ride this horse. It's how he's won pretty much all of his races in his career to date. He's a horse that can really sustain a gallop, and once he is put into the race early, he's hard to stop his momentum. From barrier 1, that could be a problematic draw for him here this afternoon if he's unable to lead, as if he is cross early doors and he has to settle leaders back or even 3 back the fence. I can't see him winning the race.
4 Decoration. This is the horse you touched on. Dan and Ben Pearce. Natasha Faithfull.
Just been building fitness this preparation, Michael, and I do think this race sets up well for him. He's a winner at this track and distance over the racing round last year. Was a tough win on that occasion as well. Was challenged very early in the straight, but kicked back to win with a bit of authority over the concluding stages. He's had the 3 runs back in much stronger company than what he meets here this afternoon. I thought he's run particularly 2 starts ago, as mentioned, over the 1,300 metres at Pinjarra in graduation company. Beaten 3 lengths by God's Gate was very good. Certainly had some excuses last start. Now out to a much more suitable, different distance range. Thought Tash Faithfull had the perfect opportunity to really own this race, come out positive, find the front or the breeze, hold tactical field positioning on Feuding, who's likely to settle in the second half of the field, and from there I think he'll certainly give that horse something to run down.
5 strike now. David Smith, Troy Turner.
Had a couple of cracks here at Kalgoorlie. Has been a little bit disappointing in those runs as well. Beaten 4 lengths, beaten 12 lengths, drawn wide here in barrier 10 for Troy Turner. Once upon a time, a pretty competitive Saturday type of a stayer, but would certainly need to lift on his form here on the Goldfields.
The 6 One More Faleo was given a nice push by Brett Drury when we interviewed him earlier. Kira Yule rides this 6-year-old.
He's a winning chance, Michael. I thought he was the run of the meeting here last start at Kalgoorlie. That was over the 1,400 metres, dropping back from the 1,760 the start prior. Just got a long way back in running from a very wide draw, and thought the way he hit the line late was incredibly good. Drawn a nice barrier here in 3, can hold a much closer position in running. Back out to the 1,760. The senior jockey goes back on board in Kira Yule as well. I think at the double figures, he poses a bit of value.
7 Tony's Spirit. This is the mare that we touched on briefly, that she perhaps hasn't been handling those soft tracks recently. Geordie Rolf, Luke Campbell.
She hasn't, but she has also been beaten out of sight in pretty much all of her runs this campaign. Beaten 12.7 Forever Boy, 20 lengths First Encounter, Major Mario 13 lengths, and Snazzler last start by 6 lengths on a very rain-affected track. She just hasn't been handling those wet tracks, but she's also been beaten a long way and hasn't really fired a shot. She's drawn a nice barrier to work with here today, this afternoon. I think her career is probably at a crossroads at this stage, and she would want to show something here.
8 Dancing Jack looking to break a 2-year winning drought for Pam Oram and Ava Catarino.
Doesn't win out of turn, hasn't been far away in recent runs. Ran third 3 starts ago over this trip behind Magic Will Rain. Has been fair in a couple of runs since then. Beaten 2 lengths by Feuding, 4 lengths by Santa Bray last start. From the barrier, makes things pretty tough.
9 Devonia is a speed influence. Helen Harding, Maddie Derrick.
Certainly is, but hasn't beaten a runner home in either of her 2 runs back this campaign. She can roll forward and take up a position over the speed, but hard to have her off her recent runs to date.
10 Forever Fallion is prepared by Peter Fernie, ridden by Jefferson Sang, looking for a running double.
Dominant maiden winner 2 starts ago over 1,400 metres. Stepped up to the mile last start into what was a much stronger race, and certainly had her coloured lowered, I should say, on that occasion. Gets back from barrier 8 here for Jefferson Sang. Doesn't have a great deal of barrier speed and does look an awkward map for her.
11 Gone Drinking, another outsider, Ash Maley, Keshel Duran.
He was a pretty tough winner here 3 starts ago. That was over this distance range, but it was in Class 2 company. Has travelled a fair bit since then. Went to Northam, was well beaten on that occasion by Zero Blue. Then went down to Bunbury on the Fibre Sand. It was beaten 4 lengths on that occasion by Why Me as well. Do find it hard to make a case for him from the barrier that he's drawn this afternoon.
12 Hand Me Down, Ash Grace, Lisa Staples drawn the outside.
Thought he was a really good run 3 starts ago. Hit the line nicely behind On Just Terms, who, as we saw, absolutely bolt in the penultimate this afternoon to make that form look good, and has only been fair in a couple of runs since then. Has drawn very wide, and I do think the 1760 might just see him out.
The 13 Percussion Prince, disappointing last start. Steph Verhaalen, Atika Riordan.
He's been disappointing all preparation, really. Beaten 2 lengths by Fifth Essence in a Class 1 at Northam. Then the last couple of starts has been beaten out of sight on some rain-affected tracks. Blink has come off here today. Carries no weight after Natasha Ridden's claim. Drawn soft in barrier 2, but would need to significantly lift.
And the last runner, the 14, Style Diva, looking to be win number 5 for Peter Fernie today, but a long way up in class. Braden Garth aboard.
Certainly is. Hasn't fired a shot this campaign, this mare. She's drawn a bit tricky as well, and she's also up in class, as you mentioned. I think she'll find this too tough.
Look at this market. Feuding still well supported. 270 out to 330. Crunched. $2.40 favouritism. Pike in the last. Your tip, Riley, Decoration's been really well supported. $6.50 to 330. The stablemate Manavendra is on the third line of betting, but still drifted. 5 out to $10. Santa Bray out to $13 from 5. A big drift there, and upwards the remainder. How did you order the 4?
I went 4-1, 6 and 2 here, Michael, and a good push as well a bit earlier from Natasha Faithfull, one of the form jockeys here in WA at the moment, that her best ride on today's program was Decoration in the last. She worked this horse a little bit earlier in the week and said that he worked super. He's been building his fitness quite nicely in stronger races, and he meets here this afternoon. And if he can find a position and really own the race from the lead or the breeze over the speed, then he's capable over the 1760, a much more suitable distance range for him to run a massive race here. And at the price, he's the easy bet for me. In the last, from the 1, Feuding gets another really good opportunity with William Pike jumping on board here this afternoon, going to get a nice run throughout, and just think he's maybe short enough at the price. 6 in for third, 1 more for Leo. Was the run of the meeting in review last start and back out to the 1760. He's ever consistent. That's going to suit him from a good draw. And the 2, Manavendra, in for 4th. 4-1, 6 and 2, but pretty keen that Decoration can run a big race here, Michael, in the last.
Let's see, because it was Pike in the last yesterday at Belmont. Can Lightning strike twice today? Feuding goes around favourite. Race 7 here from Cal. Here's Royce.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, thanks for your work today, along with Riley, as runners are coming forward here. Tony's Spirit joins the line with Manavendra. So blue light's still on, a couple to emerge from behind George Grulazic's house as Dancing Jack emerges. This is start number 87 for the veteran. Dancing Jack from the Pam Oram stable. Here comes the favourite, Feuding. It's going to be Feuding favourite at $2.40. Same price on the Paramutual. And just repeating while I have the PA, if you've lost a set of keys with a Frio Dockers tag for 2019, it's in the race day office. Here's Devonia coming forward. Devonia locked away, so Decoration to come forward, just listening to the boys downstairs. This was Tasha's best ride, in her opinion, coming in today, and is a $3.50 chance with fixed odds betting on Tab Touch. Rightio, hand me down to come forward. Looks to be the last. Red lights have been illuminated at the 1760. Big field to see us out as Santa Bray just goes up. Drawn the inside and has dislodged Chris Nickel. So they're just working on getting Santa Bray out. They seem to have got him down now. Of course, the last start winner. And he may have just cast himself there for a short time. So Santa Bray has been backed out now and no doubt will undergo a vets. A $16 chance, Santa Bray. And just being trotted up behind the line. So news coming through from stewards. Just a vet check for Santa Bray. Chris Nickel was quick to get out of the saddle as he went up. He's drawn the inside. He'd been sitting there a little while, Santa Bray. Rest of the field stands there well. So Chris has been legged back aboard. And that would indicate Santa Bray will take his place in the field. This $16 chance, probably over the odds considering the strength of his win last start. He defeated Feuding, who's the favourite engaged today. But that man, W. Pike, just seems to trim odds. So 1760 ahead of them. Stand by. The line stands well. The last on Variety Day. Gates fly back, they're off, racing. Manavendra stood there and missed it hopelessly. Going back, Forever Fallion, together with Hand Me Down with early speed, pushing forward, it's Devonia. So the Esperance Galloper working forward, Devonia. There goes Decoration around the outside to be on speed. Settling down third is Feuding for Pike, the inside Percussion Prince. They were followed next of all in the run by Style Diva, Dancing Jack further out on the track. Santa Bray's going to get an economic run the fence. A further length and a half, then we've got one more for Leo, followed next of all to the outside, Gone Drinkin'. The inside Manavendra after that slow start. They were followed by Tony Spirit, Strike Now. Hand Me Down second last, and at the tail it's Forever Fallion, so 1,100 metres to run. And Devonia puts the brakes on in the back straight and shows out just over a length on Decoration. Percussion Prince third. Now Feuding getting a world perfect run in fourth. They were followed by Dancing Jack, who's covering additional ground. Then one more for Leo, the fence to Santa Bray. Gone Drinkin' was next, followed next of all by Style Diva in the second half of the field, Manavendra. Then we had Strike Now being followed next of all to the outside by Hand Me Down, Tony Spirit, and it's Forever Fallion at the tail. 600 metres to run and showing the way it's Devonia. Trying to do it from the get-go, leads out a length on Decoration, just edging closer to the outside now. They were followed next of all by Feuding, who's starting to be asked for. Dancing Jack the outside, Percussion Prince locked away the fence. Strike Now starting to extend. They were followed by Gone Drinkin', one more for Leo, well back to Manavendra with Style Diva, and Hand Me Down heads the remainder, but it's Decoration who hit the lead. It's Decoration going for home at the furlong. Now can't get there for the time being as Feuding down the outside. Strike Now with Gone Drinkin', but it's all Decoration in the last, and Decoration goes on and wins. Second across the line, Gone Drinkin'. Third, Feuding. They were followed in next of all by Hand Me Down, Dancing Jack, Percussion Prince, Tony Spirit, Manavendra. Then we had Style Diva followed by Santa Bray, well back in the field, then to Strike Now. One more for Leo, and one of the last to greet the judge was Forever Fallion. Decoration drops in class today and does it with ease. Tash Faithfull said it was her best ride in the book, and she gets the job done on the second line of betting around the 350 mark. 4 goes into the frame. Decoration defeats 11 Gone Drinkin', who just has a liking for this track. He's ran second at big odds. 1 will get third, that's Feuding, who you could really tell at the 100 he'd had enough. And going into the frame now for 4th is the 12, which is Hand Me Down. So 4, 11, 1 and 12 Decoration for Dan and Ben Pearce, trained in Carnup, ridden by Tash Faithfull, by Epaulet from Visited, and owned by the Oakland Park Stud Syndicate, also Mrs. D. Pearce and the Hamlin Bay Thoroughbred Syndicate. 4 is your winner. Ahead of the 11, Gone Drinkin' for Ash Maley and Keshaw Duran by God Has Spoken from Gone Diggin'. Owned by Ash Maley, R. Croucher, D. Croucher, V. Tarzia and B. Shields. Third in the 1, Feuding for Peter Fernie and William Pike by Shooting to Win from Destination Tucson. Owned by Nick Carapalotti, G. Hawkins, Terry Layton, Bernie Ryan and the 1-1 Pod Syndicate. Also C. Wells, T. Dunn, Brad McManus, C. Lawson, K. Coleman, Cox, A. Cooney and N. Addison. And 4th in was 12, and that was
Decoration. Riley Morgan's put on a clinic. This quaddie, 4, 11, 1 and 12 are the numbers. This horse won on Kalgoorlie Cup Day in a graduation race. He was brilliantly placed today, settled outside the leader, and he's won by nearly 2 lengths with Tash Faithfull aboard, bringing up a double. I'm joined by Dan Pearce now. Dan, you gave this horse a good push earlier. 2 from 2 here at Cal. He loves the Goldfields.
Yeah, it's looking that way. He's in really good order. He's been fresh and up and about up here today. So yeah, looks to like the track.
4th start this time in. Last start, heavy track, 1,400 metres, probably against him, but he was just looking for further and maybe on top of the ground as well.
Yeah, we've been confident with how he's going. Like, his work's been super. Tash galloped him on Tuesday and was really happy with how he went. So yeah, maybe just a little bit tricky finding our way through those chopped out tracks at home. And yeah, certainly appreciate getting back on top of the ground today.
Probably goes to a high 70s country rating now and maybe early 70s in a metro rating. Does he come back to Cal, seeing he loves it so much? Maybe a Tats Cup and a Boulder Cup?
Yeah, we might have to ask our racing manager. He did a pretty good job finding this race today. So yeah, look, we'll be able to pick our way through. But yeah, certainly we'd be keen to get him back up here for sure.
Good to go home with a winner and back home now and trials tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it. So we've got a big. It's been a big weekend. So yeah, I'm on holiday next week. So the finish line's in sight for me.
Been a pretty big week for Ben the last week too in Bali. No doubt Kurt Legian's been pretty tough.
Yeah, well, I reckon they'll be tuning in from up there. So yeah, look, I'll certainly be having my share of fun next week.
Well done.
Cheers.
There's Dan Pearce there, and here's Tash Faithfull after a double.
Yes, Michael, makes it all the more worthwhile for Dan once he jets off on his holiday in a week's time. But a very good win by Decoration to round out today's Kalgoorlie program, and well tipped by you as well, Tash, a little bit earlier once we caught up after winning the opening race. You said this was the best of your remaining rides, and he was dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. Went out and galloped him on Tuesday and he gave me a super feel and thought he'd be very hard to beat today. He sort of had one start here over the distance and won, and yeah, just settled beautifully in running and gave me a really good kick on the top of the corner.
I guess that leads into my next question. Once you were able to find that position with him outside the leader, he just travelled so well, and you must have been confident with the manner in which he travelled once he straightened for home.
He did. Sort of once we sort of got along the back straight and I got him to just drop the bit and settle a little bit off the leader, he got in a beautiful rhythm, and as soon as I gave him a squeeze on the top of the corner, gave me a good turn of foot, and I always thought he'd be hard to run down.
You'd think he'll get out over a little bit further as well. He's certainly no star, this horse, but he does need some ground. He's tough and he can really sustain a run.
Yeah, he will. I mean, I think he's going to just enjoy getting on top of the tracks. He's been running some really honest races, but just getting his foot in the heavy, obviously not enjoying it too much, but back on top of the ground, he's got a really good turn of foot.
Great way to round out the day. Well done.
Thank you.
There is Tash Faithfull after the win of Decoration. 4, 11, 1 and 12 are the numbers here. Riley, as we wrap up proceedings, Peter Fernie has put on another clinic here. We've seen Willie Pike with a couple, Tash Faithfull with a couple. You've found more than a couple. It's been a pretty successful day.
Yeah, it has been a good day. Good to get a couple of winners. It's been pretty slim pickings, I won't lie, Michael, over the last couple of weeks. But as I did say, one of my favourite tracks to bet on at this time of year at the moment, Kalgoorlie. Very wintry, wet tracks in town, a bit closer towards the metropolitan area, but they don't get as much rain up here on the Goldfields. We generally get a good track to play with at this time of year as well, which certainly makes things, I guess you can attack with a little bit more confidence through the middle stages of the year.
This is the final weekend of the season as well. Of course, August 1 is next Friday. So from a WA perspective, we only have 2 more race meetings this season. That is Belmont on Wednesday and the Bunbury Sand Fibre on Thursday. Then that is all she wrote for the season 24-25. It's been a wonderful season here in WA. A lot of highlights. William Pike, of course, we've already touched on that earlier, that he missed a couple of months with injury and he's still ridden the most winners in Australia. It's been a remarkable achievement. But for now, it's a sign-off from here from Kalgoorlie. It won't be long till we're back here for the race round in a month or so. A wonderful time of year here in the spring in the Goldfields. But for now, it's a good night from myself and Riley.